Fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if you please you, join me here for a bit of palaver on Hail to Stephen King. That's right, my favorite author. You can see by every single book that is behind me there. I have read all of those. Crazy, right? Took about 8 years, and I am nearing 150 episodes of this program that I do every Terrifying Tuesday, every Scarific Saturday, most of the time. I am actually going to be taking a day off next week because of the fact that we are doing the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival, which is a part of the Phoenix Film Festival. So that is going to be a ton of fun and very, very busy. I think we're seeing like over 40 movies in the span of 10 days. Crazy. There's certain days where I'm going to be watching 5, 6 films and just go, 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 and lots of reviews, lots of fun. But I also didn't want to have to pre-tape the 150th episode, so yes, that is going to be the festival goes to the 14th, so I believe it's April 16th is going to be the 150th episode of this program, and it's going to be live, and it's just going to be a big AMA discussion and everything. And I know that lots of the viewers were saying they wanted it to be just, you know, memories and, you know, back and forth all about that. Maybe, you know, one of your favorite episodes or something of that nature, perhaps when you first discovered the Hail to Stephen King. But it's just the utmost honor, you know, to have shared all this palaver with all of you. So this was a weird week though, because this was a week where I definitely saw the dark underbelly of fandom, and I was trying to figure out how I wanted to approach this video because it's another video about Pet Sematary related stuff. And, you know, in the description, of course, you saw that I'm saying, you know, should they make a prequel to Pet Sematary? And the reason for that is because spoilers, the film ends in a drastically different fashion, and I don't really think there's any more story to tell after the alterations that were made to the ending of this film. Whereas in the original, everybody wanted a Pet Sematary 2, including Mary Lambert, to you know, follow the story of Ellie, and everybody knows at this point that they switched things up. And in the trailers, so spoilers, it was in that trailer that everybody got so up in arms about, but they killed Ellie instead of Gage, and you know, with the vehicle and whatnot, with the huge semi. And so yeah, there isn't really, in the continuity of the remake, a sequel to be told, but the team behind it said that they would like to make a prequel film and just explore so much of the stuff that I felt they really, really grazed over, like big time. I watched the film for a second time last night, so I have a little bit more proper context, and then I came home and I watched this again. So I watched both films in the same night, in between, you know, going and checking out the horror shorts at the Phoenix Film Festival, IHSFF. So in the same evening, I watched the original and I watched the remake for some very direct comparison and context and whatnot. So yeah, they do graze over the aspect of, I mean, it's when Lewis is just looking at the, you know, those online newspaper clippings and stuff like that, where he sees the thing with the bull, and, you know, he sees the war vet coming back and all of those different things. So I do admit that that idea intrigues me extensively. I always wanted to get like a true Ellie sequel, either written by King or, you know, just at least in screen form, but unfortunately the Pet Sematary 2 we got was completely different. Still directed by Mary Lambert, but as she let know in a recent interview, that was the choice of the studio, not her. She wanted to actually have a proper continuation and see, you know, Ellie maybe grown up and coming back and kind of trying to investigate what the hell happened to her family. I just wanted to rail off a few points of just context and tone, especially with watching both films back to back last night like I did. Just to double down on some things that I said in our regular and in our spoiler review, I honestly feel like the original film feels bigger. It really does. I mean, the road, like the actual notorious road that takes the life of their child, it's so much bigger, and, you know, the trees are more spread out and everything, and you know, that feels bigger to me. Also, when they get to those Micmac burial grounds, it felt very much more like they made a set. as opposed to actually going and finding a big sprawling place with weird rock formations and all of this creepiness. So for those reasons, I feel like just the scope, you know, of the film was much bigger in the original. I also feel like the original film is more emotional, you know. The Judd, and this is obviously just doubling down on things that I already mentioned, but the Judd-Lewis, just the friendship isn't there in this, and that was a very direct, obvious thing that they, you know, deliberately tried to do. And yeah, it just, despite the fact that they're both around the 100 minutes, this one just felt so much more rushed, and, you know, but I still did like things about it, you know. This new film really felt to me like it was going for shock value with all of its changes, very deliberately changing things, and I know, I said it myself, it's a different level of the tower, it's a different turn of the wheel, it had to be different, it totally did, and I honestly really enjoyed the ending. I thought it was something that salvaged things and made it a little bit interesting, even if they show the ending at the very beginning of the film and then they cycle back around to it. I'm not always the biggest fan when films do that, but yeah, you know the fate of one character in particular based on that. Yeah, especially, you know, for those that saw the original film, and I feel like this movie almost was hopeful that you had seen the original one because it wanted to get that excessive shock value of having things changed up for you and whatnot. The new film is honestly really cruel too. It's really cruel, and it has much less heart. I think there's a whole lot less love and compassion and friendship and whatnot in all of the proverbial relationships in this, including with the family too. I mean, I guess I kind of feel it, you know, with Ellie and that is one thing that I will say. I like the new Ellie better, and I also like the new Rachel better. As much as I dig Tasha Yar, with a second viewing, I especially, and I thought Zelda was done very well. It's funny how Zelda got a little bit more emphasis and was less silly and grosser looking, but then in contrast, you know, Victor, you know, Pax Cow, I felt like he had less to do in this and didn't have as profound of a role, especially, you know, with his words of warning and stuff like that. He definitely doesn't have as many scenes in this. Okay, and for me, it doesn't portray the catastrophic catastrophe in the same way, and I think that for that sheer fact, it didn't really delve as much into just the nature of grief that is so essential to this story. I mean, the funeral scene alone and the fight with the in-laws and all that other stuff, I know it's a different turn of the beam, and you know, the different turn of the wheel, a different, you know, level and all that other stuff, like I always say. But I felt like that scene and the fight and the blame and all of this other stuff is so essential for just how people cope, and it just was, for that reason, less a rumination about the nature of grief and just how deep it goes and how lasting it can be. And, you know, where, you know, just having to shoulder responsibility and, you know, pointing fingers, you know, and all of this different stuff, that's really essential stuff. And I also didn't think that they really emphasized Lewis's conniving as much, you know, especially with, like, you know, lying about all of these different things. And he lied about a few things, but, I mean, bottom line, I'm not here to do another Pet Sematary review. You know, we definitely did that, so refer back to our spoilers review and to our non-spoiler review if for whatever reason you haven't seen this movie yet. But yeah, I must admit that I am incredibly intrigued by the idea of just how far back, you know, it's another reason why I would love to see a you know, prequel to you know, Pennywise, all about Derry, and why I kind of wish they had done a Derry show instead of a Castle Rock show. I feel like just the extent of history and craziness there goes a whole lot deeper. But I guess we're going to know once we see the final box office numbers the possibility of this prequel idea actually going through, because I guess they said that they do have an idea for a prequel and where they would want things to go. And I think that there is a lot of you know, ground to dig through and so on, if we're going to use that sort of analogy. And I would personally be very intrigued by the idea. I would hope they make it a period piece, you know, but yeah, you never know. I guess you could do another full-blown sequel just without the Creed family, because obviously the ground is still there, the ground is still sour, the ground is still messed up. But the thing is, like, in the book, there's that whole aspect of somebody has to pass along the secret to somebody else. It's a very, very big important part. It's why Judd wanted to, why Judd felt this compulsion and this impulse to tell Lewis in the first place. And don't even get me started on the fact that you know, there's no wife for Judd once again, and that was really what opened up the Pandora's box in the first place, not Winston Churchill. So yeah, that whole storytelling aspect, I mean, there's a ton of different places that you could potentially take it. If I had my personal way, which in a perfect world, that would definitely be the case, I would honestly like to see them go all the way back. All the way back. How about we going back way back? And it goes a little something like this. I would like to see the Micmacs actually discovering the true nature of that ground, and I just love period pieces. I love westerns. I feel like they could do something in that realm, which would honestly be really, really rad. But, you know, it is what it is. Who knows what sort of idea they have together. But, I mean, hell, even, it's not going to happen, obviously, but this is like dream scenario type stuff, so bear with me here. How dope would a Pet Sematary, like, anthology series be, where each segment is like completely different characters encountering the sour ground and, you know, having to go through, you know, the negative underbelly, once again, to use that term, of, yeah, just the whole selfishness of sometimes dead being better and how sometimes you should just leave well enough alone. So I think that would be amazing, but yeah, this is just me, you know, working off the top of my head. But yes, if I was going to say, like, full-on prequel, go to the very beginning. You know, go to the first, you know, people to actually discover the ground. I think that would be super, super cool. I mean, hell, you could just start with that and make something longer and more epic and just jump from era to era as everything, and just lead right up to, you know, have a young Judd. I mean, yeah, damn, that would be super cool. I would be down for it. But what would y'all think would be a cool approach to this? So yes, let me know in the comments below. And also, before we wrap up the festivities, there's a shorter video today because of the fact that, once again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I have to get out to the film festival. But when I bought this, I have a digital code. And, you know, with having a physical copy of it, I'm not really a digital watcher. And so I am going to pick somebody at random who, you know, could put this code to good use, because I honestly never use the damn things, and I would love a member of the YOU the Ka-Tet to actually, you know, put this to proper usage. And yeah, I also gotta say, I'm not sure if the digital movie includes the supplemental features, because the supplemental stuff on here is quite cool, especially the, you know, Fear and Remembrance, the Revisitation, that new interview with Mary Lambert. There's some really cool stuff, plus it has the archived behind-the-scenes stuff. And honestly, Pet Sematary 2 is not as bad as you may remember, so give that a revisit. There is also a review of that here on the channel. You know, it was a film series that I was doing called Films That Forgot the Face of Their Father. Yeah, it's not as bad though. It's not as bad, but honestly, I got this free copy the other day when we were at that press screening, and so legit, I mean, what, I own 4 different copies of this book now, I think. So, nonetheless, if you have never read this, you really need to do yourself a favor and just fully immerse yourself in the understandable and just very relatable aspect of grief that is on display here. And I will admit, once again, I prefer the original film to the new one, but the new one, being that, you know, new turn of the wheel and everything, it's interesting, and I liked some of the things that it did, but as a whole, as I explained earlier, you know, just briefly, you can see full thoughts in the spoiler review, and I didn't hate it with, like, you know, just this vehemence like some did on the Hale group, and like Lou was really, really not a big fan, but I did have a lot of problems with it, and it is what it is. But it's rich enough mythology that I really am intrigued by the idea of a prequel, just to get back to that. So I've been Jaime and Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the YouTubes, where I have a personal channel called Infuegotainment. I have a new Star Wars review that is going to be coming up later this month. I've been doing one Star Wars film a month as we march towards episode 9. I also did recent reviews of The Dirt, Beach Bum, both of which were absolute dog shizzle. But hey, what are you going to do? I also covered earlier this year the 3 Best Picture nominations at the Oscars. So yeah, it's been some fun renewed content, the occasional trailer reaction here or there. But obviously you're on the horror show, so if you are here, make sure that you've subscribed, you've liked, you've shared with the hashtag Hail to Stephen King, ring that bell, all that jazz, so that you get notifications about all the trailer reactions, film reviews, convention coverage, so much that we are doing. There's going to be a ton of reviews coming from IHSFF 2019, as I mentioned, the year of 19. Glorious. So much more yet to come between In the Tall Grass, Dr. Sleep being moved into November. We still have Season 2 of Castle Rock. We have, oh boy, we got Season 3 of Mr. Mercedes. It Chapter 2, how could I forget? They just screened some footage at CinemaCon that a lot of people were very, very fond of. We're going to be getting that trailer very, very soon, I'm anticipating, because of the fact that, you know, now we're through the Pet Sematary cycle. You know, it's been released. Curious what those final box office numbers will be. But, yes, make sure that you are here with us on the horror show for all of that Killer King coverage as the year progresses. So I guess that is the end of the line, and I'm about to head to the festival, so I will say hasta luego, sin amigos. I hope that it is sooner rather than later, and until that Wheel of Ka comes around once more, remember, fright fans and constant readers and viewers alike, stay scared. And read Stephen King. Seriously, if you haven't read this book yet, it hurts my heart. Although this book will also hurt your heart.